Hey guys, happy Wednesday. It's time for Pocket with Joe. I want to thank you all for joining me here over on Sports Grid TV's Twitter as well. We can call it X, IG if you're watching, and over on YouTube. Make sure you guys do me the nice solid of commenting below. Let me know who you're betting on tonight, what bets you're liking in the NHL. Now, we had 3 games on the ice yesterday. The Las Vegas Golden Knights, I tell you. If you didn't watch that banner ceremony, it was pretty incredible. I absolutely loved the big slot machine, them pulling that dial, and all 3 Stanley Cups coming up and that banner coming up. It was something unbelievable. It was an interesting night on the ice. I didn't expect Vegas to come out so strong. And I thought the Predators would at least play 3 solid periods there. They only came out for the 2. It was a tough betting day, but we're going to get back on track in today's action. We're going to make some freaking money. So thank you for everyone who is joining me over here on all the different platforms. Let me know where you're watching from as well. I see those comments pop up, so really appreciate them. Let's just look at those final scores yesterday. Now, the Tampa Bay Lightning's win over the Nashville Predators, that last goal, if you were on the puck line for either of these teams, either broke your heart or filled your wallets, because the Tampa Bay Lightning were only up by that 1 goal. The Nashville Predators had an empty net goal scored in that very last couple of seconds of the game by the Tampa Bay Lightning, covering the puck line for anyone who was riding with the Lightning in that game. So congratulations, 5-3 finish there for the Lightning. Chicago Blackhawks, I tell you, we had history in the making last night with Connor Bedard out there on the ice. He had 5 shots on goal. He did register that point for an assist, and it was a beautiful one. He came out on fire, and the Chicago Blackhawks pulled off the huge upset. They won that one 4-2 over the Pittsburgh Penguins and Sidney Crosby. The Penguins had no urgency in that game, and it was like they were out for a Sunday skate. Not sure what happened out there for the Penguins, but they just didn't come alive. And then the Vegas Golden Knights did exactly the opposite. They were absolutely on fire from the second they hit that ice last night versus the Seattle Kraken. Now, the Kraken were in the penalty box so many times, and penalties are a huge thing to take into account when we start off these seasons as well. So remember that, you guys. Teams with elite power plays, just like the Tampa Bay Lightning, will capitalize. We've got one team we know is the best on the power play kicking off tonight with the Edmonton Oilers. So if the Kings play a dirty game, or the Vancouver Canucks play dirty game, they will be able to capitalize on it. So just want to give a big shout out to everyone over here. Yes, we're running over on Twitter X, so make sure you watch over there as well. And I appreciate you guys. I see a lot of faces and names back from last season, so I'm excited for it. Edmonton in the first period over. Yeah, definitely with the Kings. We're going to break down each and every one of those games right away here. Like I said, 6 games on the board. So thank you for everyone who is watching us over here on the Sports Grid and Network as well. The first game we're going to kick off with is the Ottawa Senators taking on the Carolina Hurricanes. Just pulling up current odds here. Now, a little bit of concern with the Ottawa Senators. You guys know I'm high on this team this year, but there are injuries with this team, and not everyone that we were hoping to hit the ice is hitting the ice tonight. The Ottawa Senators are the dog at plus 155 on the money line, minus 188 here for the Carolina Hurricanes. The total 6.5, and this is kind of surprising to me. This total 6.5, juice to the under at minus 122, I think is the best way to take this game. Looking at Carolina, such a phenomenally strong defensive team, and I look at teams coming into this season, and I cautioned you guys on betting those unders this season because as we open up, because the goaltending and the defense normally comes out weaker than we see offensively, these teams coming out. But Carolina is a different animal here. This team is so strong defensively. They're able to limit opponents to only 26 shots on goal last season. And I think with the Ottawa Senators, this team has really high aspirations to make it all the way this season. This is a powerful team that I think really is going to be like what we saw of the New Jersey Devils last year. So I'm counting on this team to come out nice and strong. I do think, though, that they will fall into the defensive game with the Carolina Hurricanes, because I tell you, they have to be so careful not to get caught up, because Carolina can score as well. So I think the game plan here for Ottawa has to become come out and play really strong. Now, we know there's been a goaltending change, which is absolutely for the positive here with the Ottawa Senators. Corpusalo has been signed on to the Ottawa Senators. Now, he played for the Kings to finish off last year and the St. Louis Blues before that. Phenomenal goaltender here. I love his ability to absolutely stand on his head. Corpusalo last season finished with a 2.13 goals against average. He's going to come out nice and strong. And then on the other side of the puck, we'll have Frederik Andersen out here for the Carolina Hurricanes. He had a 2.48 goals against average last season. Now, I do think there's some hiccups when we come out in these first couple of games for these goalies, but I do expect with the defenses of both of these teams for both of these goalies to come out nice and strong, keeping us under that total of 6.5. Where is the value in this game? Well, it's not on Carolina. We know they're basically sitting as a $2 favorite here. I think the value is on the Ottawa Senators. And I'm going to sprinkle a little bit, maybe half a unit on them on that money line with that plus money. I do think you could even look at them on that puck line, but we've seen that number move before. The puck line was plus 1.5 at minus 150. We're now getting plus 1.5 at minus 188. So that's a hard one to bet. The value definitely still sitting on that money line. You've got to have a lot of faith there. Now, the Carolina Hurricanes are no joke, though. This is a team that was eliminated by the Florida Panthers last season out of the playoffs in that situation where no one would have thought they would have got the win. Long story short here, you guys, I do think although we have great offensive firepower on both sides, goaltending matchup here tonight, defensive matchup going against what I like in the totals in the first couple of games out for these teams being the over. I'm going to take this one under the 6.5. I just don't see Carolina allowing Ottawa to play a strong, highly explosive offensive game. This one staying under the number. Home ice has also been a huge advantage between these two, with the home team getting the majority of the wins. Again, the value is gone with Carolina here at home. So give me the Ottawa Senators small sprinkle and the under 6.5 in this one. Columbus Blue Jackets and Kings. Yes, he was with the Columbus Blue Jackets. Sorry, I say St. Louis Blues and then Kings. I always forget where he came from. Let's make some freaking money tonight. Let's jump back to the next one. We got a lot of dogs, and interesting looking at these dogs today, especially after the Chicago Blackhawks got the win yesterday. The Montreal Canadiens are taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, this Toronto Blue Jays, there we go. Hockey is back, and as soon as I go to say Toronto, you guys are going to hear this for the first couple of weeks. Toronto rolls off my tongue, Blue Jays. We know it's the Maple Leafs. They might as well be the same team. They both let us down when it gets to time to hit those playoffs. I'm actually glad the Jays are out of the playoffs because one less heartbreak here for Toronto fans, but the Maple Leafs getting back in action. Plenty of opportunities to cause heartbreak. Don't tell Cam Stewart I said that. He will not be impressed. But the Toronto Maple Leafs coming in here, huge favorites over the Montreal Canadiens. Now, current lines have them at minus 285 right now over on FanDuel. We have a puck line for the Maple Leafs minus 1.5 at minus 118, total of a 6.5. Plus money to that under at plus 104, to the over at minus 128. If you like Montreal for the straight up upset, you're getting them at plus 230 and plus 1.5 at minus 102. Looking at this, it's a really interesting one because this rivalry is so tight. They play in tight games, except for in Toronto. You see Toronto come out phenomenally strong, normally able to cover that puck line in Toronto. When Montreal is at home, Montreal is able to sneak out the wins at home. They played 4 games last season with Montreal winning both of theirs at home and Toronto winning both of theirs at home. The ones in Montreal are tight. I want to take Montreal here because they're prepared and they're ready to go into this battle with Toronto. I can't get there. We've got Jake Allen in goal for the Montreal Canadiens, which he's a sieve, you guys. He cannot stop a beach ball out there. I struggle. I don't know why Sam Montembeault didn't get the start for the Montreal Canadiens in this game. I would have expected him to come out and play strong against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and then I could have backed Montreal here. One thing I think we can do, though, Samsonov is in goal for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And like I said, goaltending and defense really take a little bit of time to find their feet on the ice. I do think this is going to be a game where we see those goals exchanged in this game. Montreal's team total is at 2.5. The over 2.5 goals for Montreal, we're getting plus 100. I do think there is so much value in the plus 2.5 goals or over 2.5 goals for Montreal plus 100. I would love to take them plus 1.5 at plus 100. This is a promising young team. I'm just not sure it's the best way to tackle this one. Toronto's going to be ready and eager to get back into this season. We know what happened to them to finish off a last season. They made it out of the first round of the playoffs, which was like a first in a lifetime kind of situation. Toronto fans were all pumped. And then they all went golfing and didn't hit the ice for the second round of the playoffs. I don't know what happened. This team completely fell apart. So I think there's a little bit of excitement around this team and their players looking to get back out there on the ice and to start off really hot versus a rival here. I do think that first period is a really solid first period to look at, going over that total of 1.5. No, it's juiced, so at minus 146, but I definitely can see 2 goals coming in that first period as those goaltenders get caught off guard right away. A couple players to look at. Of course, it's William Nylander for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, Nylander coming in here, I want to play a shots on goal. But you got to take him all the way up to 4 shots on goal, and you're still laying juice at minus 135. So it's really hard to take the value in him for his shots on goal. Anytime goal is at plus 125. We know how explosive Nylander is, and he should be able to get a goal in this one. Like I said, Jake Allen can't stop much. We know Nylander will be firing, and the books even know it, and that's why they're putting him at 4+ shots on goal and laying juice on that one. You could take him on the points, but you have to take him 2+ points. If you take him 1+ points, you're almost laying $3 on that 1+ points. They know the points are coming. 2+ points, you're going to get a little bit of value there, right around the minus 118. But I don't like to take a 2+ points of 118. I'm going to look at him for the anytime goal, if anything, on Nylander. The other side of the puck, you got to look at Josh Anderson here for the Montreal Canadiens to come out nice and strong. He's on one of the top. He's on one of the top lines. He's on the top line here. For him to get a point, you're actually getting plus money. And that's where I like to go with the props. When we're looking at these players, laying minus 135 for a player to get those shots or to get points, etc., I don't absolutely love. But when we find a player like this that rides on the top line, getting plus money on them to get that point, he doesn't have to get the goal. He can get the assist here for Josh Anderson. And I like him for the Montreal Canadiens to be able to do it. So it's going to be an interesting game. Make sure you guys let me know what you're liking. Big shout out to everyone over there on IG. Harder to see your comments on IG, but I will try to get to those as well. It's going to be a great game out there on the ice tonight. I can hardly wait for these ones to get started. And let me know, you guys, who is your hockey team? Because I don't know everyone's hockey teams out there and who you're really liking for this season to make a run for the Stanley Cup. Okay. Let's look at the Chicago Blackhawks versus the Boston Bruins. I'm nervous for this game. And do you know why I'm nervous for this game? I went on Sports Rage last night with Gabriel Morency. Cam Stewart, we were talking about this game, and I'm like, we have to hit the Boston Bruins, laying the 1.5 on the puck line. We're still going to lay juice at minus 125. Let me just check current odds. It was minus 125. It's minus 137. That's how much that has moved. They're now minus 345 on that money line, plus 270 for the Chicago Blackhawks. That total's still sitting at 6.5. We talked about this, and it has the perfect recipe for a parlay buster written all across it. And I agree, after we especially talked about it, everyone backing the Boston Bruins, but hard not to do so. Boston here on their first night out, how they left the playoffs last season after being so notoriously strong all season. We know how strong they finished, and then not to be able to get past the first round of the playoffs. You think this Boston Bruins team will come out with vengeance and look to take it out here on the Chicago Blackhawks, who are the trendy team with Connor Bedard on it, and Connor Bedard and the Chicago Blackhawks played last night. So it looks like a straightforward, easy slam dunk. These are the situations where those easy slam dunks aren't cashing in hockey and in different situations. But the good thing here, if you're backing the Boston Bruins, is they have really owned The matchup between them and the Chicago Blackhawks. The Blackhawks are 1-4 in the last 5 meetings in Boston and 1-4 in the last 5 meetings overall. So those trends, you can look at those kind of trends in other sports. They are really solid in betting hockey. Always check those before you're placing your bets because it's something to look at. Certain teams just can't beat other teams, and it doesn't make sense, rhyme, or reason for anything other than some teams just their style of play doesn't suit well to, and especially these weaker teams like the Chicago Blackhawks doesn't suit well to teams like the Boston Bruins. But in this case, the Boston Bruins have been able to control this matchup. So if you're looking at this one, I think this is another one where you look at that first period over 1.5 goals. Now we're not laying as much juice in this one over the 1.5 goals. That's coming in at -130. I do think we see those goals coming hard and fast in this game. It could be by the Chicago Blackhawks, but I expect it to be more likely by the Boston Bruins. There's been some changes on this team, though. We know a couple of players have retired and will no longer be out there on the ice for the Boston Bruins. So that leads me to believe there could be a little bit of time with these players just getting accustomed to each other out there, but they have had preseason out there as well. Allmark should be in a goal for the Boston Bruins, and we know how phenomenally strong he was last season. It does scare me with the back-to-back. Looking at Connor Bedard, we talked about him last night, looked phenomenal, 5 shots on goal. You can't really take a lot of props here and get value. You have to take him up to 4+ shots on goal to get any value. The Boston Bruins defense should be a lot stronger than what we saw last night. What else can you take? His points is -102. I don't love that. You can take him for the anytime goal. The anytime goal for Connor Bedard is +260. We saw the assists come last night, so he did get a point. I would like to see him get a goal in this one, and I think it's one that he is eager to get. Everyone, the media, everyone is eager for Connor Bedard to get. So I could see that one definitely coming. Bruins and Hawks over a 6 for a Raven. Trendy under for Calgary and Winnipeg, a series. I agree. Red Wings since 9. Wow. Red Wings fans since year 9. That is pretty awesome. We got Blackhawks fans in the crowd as well, and the Boston Bruins matchup. Okay, let's move off this game. For me, it's the first period over 1.5. It's my favorite bet in this. Connor Bedard, I'd look at him for that anytime goal. I think he's just such a phenomenal young talent that we're going to see just rise up in the league, that we're going to look and we're going to be telling the stories of the first couple of nights that he played out there on the ice. This is something we are going to remember. So if you're only watching one hockey game, I'd definitely check out that game and watch those highlights of what he's able to do out there on the ice versus this Boston Bruins team, who we know dominates on their own home ice. The next game on the board, the Colorado Avalanche taking on the LA Kings. Current odds for this one, let me just pull them up. We've got the Avs -125. Last night they were only a -110. This was basically a -110 pick 'em on both sides. The LA Kings now +104. Total still at 6.5. Now, if you like the Kings on the puck line, there's no value at +1.5. It's -240. If you like the Avs on the puck line laying 1.5, it's +195. And that total is juiced to the under at -130 to the under. Okay. You guys know, if you watched me last season at all, you absolutely know how much I love the LA Kings and their ability. Korpisalo is gone. He has moved on. We know that. He's with the Ottawa Senators. They've brought in Cam Talbot. Okay. My judgment on Cam Talbot, he lets everything in. Cam Talbot has not been the goalie that I would have thought the LA Kings would have brought in. I don't actually understand this move by the LA Kings picking up Cam Talbot. With the Senators, he was 17-4-2 with a 2.93 goals against average and a save percentage of 0.893. No, sorry, 0.898. He did have one shutout versus the Avs. You look at that, goals against average versus the Avs. He had a 3.31 goals against average over his career versus the Avs. Western Conference battle here. I tell you, the money's come in on the Avs for a reason. I think they're the better team in this situation because of goaltending. Georgiev in goal for them. He's been a solid goaltender, 2.53 goals against average last season. He saved, are you ready for this one? 1,904 shots on him last season. The Colorado Avalanche a couple of years ago were known for that team, that their defense really did get those block shots on goal, not putting a lot of pressure on their goaltenders. Last season was one where these goaltenders got a ton of pressure. Highly explosive team here with the Colorado Avalanche. They are able to find the back of the net and they're able to fire with will. I think you look at Colorado to get the straight up win. I just think this is another team that is going to come out with some anger after being kicked out of the playoffs last season in a series everyone thought they were going to win against the Seattle Kraken. This team's going to come out with fire, and they have the firepower. Like I said, highly dangerous offense here when they get firing out there on the ice. And they've got the better goaltender in tonight. I don't understand, like I said, the move with Cam Talbot here. The LA Kings, they're a scrappy team out there on the ice, hard-hitting team. We saw them kind of convert in the playoffs to a faster style when we saw them versus the Edmonton Oilers. We saw them get out there, take a little bit away from their hard-hitting style and play a faster game on the ice. If they play that kind of game with Colorado, I think Colorado will pick them apart in this game. I think they have the more skilled puck handlers on the Colorado Avalanche. So give me the Avs on the money line. Minus 135 now. Man, it's moved. Minus 110 yesterday, minus 122 this morning. Road team has had the advantage between these two, going 5-1 in the last 6 meetings as well. So that does back up Colorado in this situation. I do like their team total, and I know a lot of people looking at this one to go under that total. I like Colorado's team total over 3.5. That's coming in at plus 128. I could see this being a 4-1 style game, a 4-2 style game, or the LA Kings actually finding the back of the net a couple times, but I don't see this one being a game where the Kings come out and put 5 goals on the board. This is really interesting. So we are 2023. Ever since 2008, Jonathan Quick has either suited up to take the net in game 1 of their series or been on their roster. So real change for this team without Jonathan Quick. But we know what they did to him last season. So kind of in their face that they don't have him there. I just still don't understand Cam Talbot. Looking at the Avs last season again, 3.34 goals they averaged per game. And the Kings did the same, but they were allowing way more goals. The Kings allowed that 3.1, while the Avs did hold opponents to 2.72. The penalty kill of the Kings is very weak. Well, it's not very weak. It's weaker than the Avs penalty kill. In the first couple weeks of these games as well, you got to look at those penalties coming in. So I do think this is one where the Avs get it. You guys are rolling with me there with the Avs as well. Winning money line plays. Absolutely. Let's get these money line plays with the good value at least. Okay. 2 more games on the board. We have the Edmonton Oilers. I don't know which point we're going to start calling them Deadmonton on the season. You guys know that I'm a Calgary local, and Deadmonton is the name for the Edmonton Oilers. They have the prime opportunity to make us some money and make us some money tonight. They're taking on the Vancouver Canucks, and let's just look at current odds here. Oilers all the way up to minus 152 favorites. Interesting movement in this line because they were a bigger favorite. As of last night, they were minus 162. So money definitely coming in on the Vancouver Canucks here. Plus 126 on the Vancouver Canucks at home in this matchup. Total 6.5. Now the juice has skyrocketed on the over 6.5. That is now minus 150. You got plus 122 to the under 6.5. And if you like the Edmonton Oilers on that puck line laying 1.5, you're getting that at plus 150. And the Vancouver Canucks plus 1.5. It's way too highly juiced at minus 182. Now, I love this over maybe this is a game where if you don't see those goals come in the first minute or a couple minutes, you can live bet this total to go over that 6.5 when we see that juice start to drop. And I do recommend looking at a lot of these games this way when we hit that juice on the over of a total of 6.5 or right around that minus 150 mark. Because I don't like laying minus 150, and I know you guys don't either. But this game is going to go over that total, in my opinion. So I think it's a solid bet. Just don't like that juice. This first period should be explosive right out of the gate as well. A first period over 1.5. Again, we're laying juice at minus 150. So trying to find some value here. I do think Edmonton should come out of the gates nice and hot in this one. You could look at Edmonton in that first period to win on the money line. You can also look at them to take that first period, laying the half the goal as well. I think it's a solid way. My concern here with the Edmonton Oilers is my concern every single season with the Edmonton Oilers. This team is built for fast, a high-powered offense. It's not built for defense, and their goaltender is not strong enough to hold up in this situation. We have Skinner back in goal tonight, and I don't really trust Skinner, you guys. We know that the Vancouver Canucks are going to be able to score on him. Now, this Vancouver Canucks team is really interesting. Like I said, these penalties come in the first couple of weeks. So Edmonton is the best team in the league on the power play. They are converting over 30% of their power plays, 32.4% to be exact. Now, they're only one of 4 teams that have been able to hit over 30% since 1970s. So this is pretty incredible what their power play is able to do out there on the ice. If the Vancouver Canucks end up in the penalty box, we know this team gets scrappy and they kind of let themselves get heated under the collar. We will see Edmonton capitalize time in and time out. So the way for Vancouver to stay relevant in this game is not to take those stupid penalties. Elias Peterson, I think, is going to be very solid here for the Vancouver Canucks this season. I'd look at his props tonight. I think he's going to be a nice one to ride all season long. Now, since the coaching change, this penalty kill has got better. We know that, but they still finished the worst in the league last season. So under Rick Bouchette, we've got more ability for this team to kill those penalties, but still, I don't trust them. And Demko is in goal for them. And we did see him do pretty good to end that season off, but still not the goalie I would absolutely trust here for this one to stay under the total. I'm going to look at Edmonton's team total over 3.5. It's the least amount of juice they can get on this Edmonton team here. That team total under 3.5 is coming in at minus 120 to you guys. So I think a really solid way to look, again, that's over on FanDuel. If you're looking for a couple other player props, Evander Kane, we know how strong he has absolutely been for the Edmonton Oilers. I would look at Evander Kane to be able to get those points on the board or the goal. I tried to look at a couple of people that play on the top line for them. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, those guys, we know we're going to lay the juice. But Evander Kane for the anytime goals plus 145. So that is where I'm going to go. Again, those stats on teams that own other teams in the NHL, so solid here. The Edmonton Oilers are 7-1 in the last 7 meetings versus Vancouver Canucks. And they've won the last 5 in Vancouver. So great stats there. Last game. Okay, this one, let's be cautious with this one. We have the Winnipeg Jets taking on my Calgary Flames. And you guys know I'm a huge Calgary fan here, and I'm trying not to let my bias get involved in here. My bias more so gets involved against my own teams. The Calgary Flames coming in here at home, Daryl Sutter. We've seen the changing of the guards. This team looks so deflated last season. And I'm telling you guys, I went to their very last game versus the San Jose Sharks, and the mindset of this team, the not willingness to play for Daryl Sutter was written all over their faces. I sat right behind the bench. Daryl Sutter didn't look at anyone on the bench, and none of them looked at him either. He tapped them on the shoulder when he wanted them to go out to the ice. We have Ryan Huska now for the Calgary Flames. And I think with the change in the coaching here, we're going to see this Calgary Flames team come alive like we had hoped for them last year. Now, Markstrom is in net, and Markstrom has given us some worries last season. He's let in some goals that he really shouldn't have. But I do think Markstrom is a better player than we saw last season. and I think Jonathan Huberdeau as well for the Calgary Flames is going to be hugely impactful this season. His dislike of Daryl Sutter, he made very clear, and he made very clear in each and every game that he was not happy going out there on the ice. Now, we have lost key elements here, mainly to Foley. That was a huge loss here for us with him going to the New Jersey Devils. But I do think we look at this Calgary team and the line movement with them being the favorite here is in the right way. Current lines for this game over on FanDuel, we've got minus 132 here for the Calgary Flames, plus 110 for the Winnipeg Jets. That total is 5.5. This is the only 5.5 for the day, the only 5.5 to start this season so far. And that 5.5 is juiced to the over at minus 138 to the over, plus 112 to the under. Now, Winnipeg's whole game plan in their games is defense. This team is so strong defensively. They also count on a strong goaltending out of Connor Hellebuyck. Connor Hellebuyck was absolutely fantastic last season. This is a player that I tell you, if he leaves the Jets, I don't know what they're going to do. And this is the sort of goalie that I want to see on the LA Kings. I talked about the LA Kings picking up Cam Talbot, and I just don't understand the mentality. Connor Hellebuyck, totally different level, just absolutely phenomenal goalie out there for them. He had a 2.49 goals against average with a 0.920 save percentage last season. I love what we're seeing out of him from last season, and I think it continues and it rolls into this season. So this total of 5.5, you guys, I would take the plus money to the under. 3-2 style game here for the Calgary Flames, in my opinion, is how this one is going to finish. We're going to sweat that total, staying under the 5.5. And if this one opens up and is in a 7.5 game here, I will be blown away if it gets that high. It gets up to a 7-8 goal game, but I just don't see it happening. So I think there's value here on the Calgary Flames, even though we're laying juice now at minus 130-ish. The under, I think, with that plus money is a great way to look. Jonathan Huberdeau, I was trying to find some value in him. You can look at him for the point tonight. That's coming in at minus 136. He will lead this team, I really do think. For Calgary to improve on last season, we've got to see Jonathan Huberdeau really take this team to a different level. And for him to look like the Jonathan Huberdeau we knew before he came to Calgary to play under Daryl Sutter. Daryl Sutter kind of crushed souls with the Calgary Flames. Now, looking at the Winnipeg Jets, if you're looking for a player prop over there, Kyle Connor, he is their lead goal scorer over there. Last year, he walked away with 80 points. He's absolutely phenomenal. And I love what we see out of Kyle Connor. He's so fast out there on the ice. So definitely look at him to come out to play in this game here. But again, I really do think this is a defensive battle here between these two. So it's going to be a great game. One young goalie to look out for is on Calgary. Now, he's a third string goalie. I did get to see him at the end of last season, that game that I was referring to versus the Sharks. His name is Dustin Wolf, and everyone in Calgary is calling him Wolfie. He looks great out there between the pipes on the ice, except small. You can tell he is a younger player out there. But again, third in line behind Dan Vladar and Jacob Markstrom. So it's going to be really interesting for Calgary this season. Of course, they're going to want to beat the Winnipeg Jets with how things landed last year with the Jets being able to get that win and not allow Calgary to go further into their playoff hopes. So you guys, 6 games on the board tonight. Lots of opportunities to make some freaking money in hockey. Drop below what you guys are liking, like, comment, and share. And we're going to be back here tomorrow, same time, to make some more money on the ice. Enjoy these games and all the best to each and every one of you. Make sure also you guys check out the Sports Grid app. If you don't have it yet, you are definitely missing out. It has everything over there, and you can follow your favorite hosts for their clips and everything like that. So I will be live on Sports Grid Saturday night for 8 o'clock to midnight Eastern. So make sure you join me over there. We're talking everything on those live shows. I'm with Scott Wetzel. So we have a lot of fun, a lot of laughs, and we have a lot of good times making some money watching these games and betting these games, and also talking what is on the board for Sunday as well. So all the best, you guys. Have a good one. Make sure you check out the Sports Grid app.